Let's continue with the Unit 2 review. We have finished 1 through 14. 15, it says write the slope-intercept equation for each line. That means write the equation in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay. So I need to find a slope and I need to find a y-intercept. So in this equation, my slope is 6. So that's my m. My y-intercept is -3, so that's b. So my equation is y equals 6x plus -3, or I can write it as y equals 6x minus 3. This is the way I would prefer it, but it's not a big deal. Okay, a slope of -2, which means my m is 2, -2, and the y-intercept is 0, 5. That tells me that b is 5. So I have y equals -2x plus 5. Okay. All right, 16, it asks you to do two things. We want to write the point-slope form, which is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And then we have to turn that into y equals mx plus b, which means we're going to just solve for y. Only two steps to that. We're going to distribute and then add. Okay, so my m is 1/2. This is x1 and this is y1. So if I'm plugging this into my equation, I have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Okay, so there is my point-slope form. Now to turn that into slope-intercept form, I'm going to distribute. Let me get a different color. I'm going to distribute. So that gives me y minus 5 is equal to 1/2 x. 1/2 times -2 is -1. When I add 5 to both sides, I get that y is 1/2 x plus 4. So there is my slope-intercept form. Okay, so my slope in this one is -6, x1 is -1, y1 is 3. So this gives me y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Well, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. So y minus 3 is -6 times x plus 1. So there is my point-slope form. So now I'm going to distribute. Y minus 3 equals -6x minus 6. And when I add 3 to both sides, I get that y is equal to -6x minus 3. And that is my slope-intercept form. Okay, write an equation in point-slope form. All right, so that is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Well, I've got 2 points. I don't have a slope. I've got 2 options for x1, y1, but I need my slope, and of course my slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is find my slope. I'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Recall, it doesn't matter. as long as I'm consistent with it. All right, so y2, which is negative 5, minus y1, which is 3, divided by x2, which is 5, minus 3. So negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. 5 minus 3 is 2, which tells me that my slope is negative 4. So now to write it in, actually answer the question, I'm going to use my slope. And I'll use this one because it doesn't have any negatives, so it'll make me be easier for me to write it. So y minus y1 is equal to my slope times x minus x1. And this is the form they want, so this is the answer. Okay, same thing here. x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to have to calculate my slope. So it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 2 minus 0 is 2. Negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7. And it doesn't matter which point you use. I'll just be consistent and use the first one. So this becomes y minus y1 is equal to my slope times x minus the x1 value is 6. If you had used the other point, you would have gotten exactly the same thing. Okay, let's graph some lines. All right, so graphing the lines, what I always do is I look at the equation and allow that to tell me what I'm supposed to do to graph it. But you can use any method that you want. Let's make sure I can, this is nice and focused and I can find my ruler. Okay. All right, so this is in slope-intercept form. I can also write this as negative 6,5x plus 0. That tells me that my y-intercept is 0, 0. So I know that is the starting point when I graph my line. Then my slope tells me, since it's negative, from there I go down 6 and to the right 5 to find another point. So for my y-intercept, I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I connect my dots. And put arrows on the end. Okay, my next one here, this is in point-slope form. So there are a couple ways I can do this. I can turn this into slope-intercept form if I like doing that. Or I can just find the slope and a point from here. So I know from this one that my slope is negative 1, and a point on the line is negative 1, 4. Because this is my y1 and this is my x1. But remember, the minus sign comes in the formula, so this is really y minus 4 equals negative 1 times x minus negative 1. X plus 1 is x minus negative 1. So I can start at the point negative 1, 4. When I turn this into a ratio, that tells me from that point I go down 1 and to the right 1. And since they're close together, I'm going to do it a couple of times. It's not necessary. And then I'll connect my dots. Now on this one you could also have taken it, if I have y minus 4 is equal to the opposite of x plus 1, I could have distributed the negative. So that would be y minus 4 equals negative x. Negative 1 times 1 is minus 1. Add 4 to both sides, and that gives me y equals negative x plus 3, which this still tells me my slope is negative 1, but my y-intercept is 0, 3. And if you'll notice on here, if I were to graph that, my y-intercept is 0, 3, and I go down 1 over 1, and it will give me the same line. So just whichever way works for you is fine. Okay, x equals 2. I know there's only one variable in this, so this is either a horizontal or a vertical line. So x equals a number is a vertical line. So this one is a vertical line for all of those points where x equals 2. So x equals 2 here, here, here. And I draw my line. And as I'm thinking about this, we haven't asked any questions about this, but the slope of that line is undefined. Okay, y equals 5x plus 1. This is in slope-intercept form. So this tells me that my slope is 5 over 1, and my y-intercept is 0, 1. So I start at 0, 1. From here, this tells me to go up 5 and to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and to the right 1. And then I connect my dots. Okay. All right, this one's in point-slope form. Now, you could turn this into slope-intercept form, but here's the problem. If I multiply this, I'm going to end up with a fraction for my y-intercept. So this one I might want to just leave as is. But what I do know is I can write this as y minus negative 2 is equal to negative 3/4 times x minus negative 3. So it will fit the pattern. So that tells me that my slope is negative 3 over 4, and the point on the line is negative 3, negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to plot the point negative 3, negative 2. This tells me from that point, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll connect my dots. Now you'll see here that it's what we expected, that is my y-intercept is not a nice pretty whole number. All right, if I have y equals 4, y equals a number is a horizontal line. where the y is 4. So the y is 4 here, and here, and here. Every point where the y coordinate is 4 is the horizontal line. And horizontal has a slope of 0. Just as I'm thinking while I'm graphing. Okay, slope-intercept form again. So this tells me that my slope is -1/2 and my y-intercept is 0, -3. So 0, -3 is where I start. From here I go down 1 over 2. And again, I'll do it again just because that's who I am. It's not necessary. Uh-oh, I dropped my ruler. Draw my line through my dots. Okay. Now these next two are in standard form. Now if it's in standard form, normally I'm going to just find the x and the y-intercept. So it's in standard form, I just want to find the intercepts. Okay, so for the x-intercept, I let y equal 0. So that gives me 5x minus 10 times 0 equals -20. 5x equals -20. When I divide by 5, I get x equals 4. So 4, 0 is my x-intercept. I'm sorry, -4, 0. Excuse me. All right, then for my y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So that gives me 5 times 0 minus 10y is equal to -20. -10y is -20, which tells me that y is 2. So 0, 2 is my y-intercept. And this is -4, 0. And then I connect my dots. And oopsie oopsie. Okay, so on 26, again, it's in standard form. So if I want to find the x-intercept, for the x-intercept, let y equal 0. So that gives me -3x plus 0 equals -6. -3x is -6. When I divide by -3, I get x is 2. So my x-intercept is 2, 0. For my y-intercept, I'm going to let x equal 0. So I have -3 times 0 plus y is equal to -6. So y is -6. So 0, -6 is my y-intercept. And then I connect my dots. Okay, we'll stop here and our next video will include all the stuff about exponents.